Hey everybody, Tacoma Cyclist here, and it's a rest day. You don't want to watch me sitting on my trainer doing zone 1. So I'm going to give you some other content instead. In the meantime, I got to get my car in for service. Even though I haven't actually driven pretty much anywhere, thanks to COVID, my car tells me, hey, it's time for maintenance. So I'm going to take it in. The downside to these bike racks like this, can't take it to a car wash, and my car is filthy, so the dealer will wash it for me, but I got to take this off. I don't know about you, mine lives on here. So let's get this bad boy into the shop. I'm running a little bit late anyway. And you tell me your thoughts about this kind of Zwift race. Is it good? Is it beneficial? Or do they need to get rid of them? Tell me in the comments below, but watch the video first. Don't just like watch this intro and then go, I have a strong opinion about this and therefore I want to That's cool. Everybody's got strong opinions. Watch the video, tell me what you think about my thoughts, and then tell me your thoughts, or just tell me your thoughts. I don't care, but watch the video first. Okay, so if you haven't figured it out by now, you probably recognize that I'm talking about mass start races. So what's the deal? What's the beef with a mass start race? And what is it in comparison to the other style races? Short version is a mass start race is where all 4 categories, A, B, C, and D, all start together. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of lack of consistency on the part of Zwift as to how to tell if you're in a mass start race. I've been in some mass start races where literally A, B, C, and D are all in the same starting pen. It becomes really obvious to tell if you're in a mass start race at that point, but not necessarily. Because sometimes the mass start races have you start in different pens. Your A's are in one pen, B's, and so on in their own respective starting pens. In some cases, mass start races show in the Zwift app, in the companion app, that they're going to be a mass start race. Or in some cases, you'll see that the A's, B's, C's, and D's all have the same exact start time. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a mass start race. In fact, some of the ones in Crit City have them all starting at the same time, but you don't see the other categories. So it's an option that the organizer has the ability to turn on or off. Now, what's the beef here? I'll keep this brief. I've only got a 5-minute race segment here that I'm going to show. But what's my beef with this type of race? Well, first let me start with what's positive about this race. Let's say you're a C racer and you're kind of on the cusp of becoming a B racer and you want to test yourself, right? This is a great opportunity to do that. You can maybe get in with a group of B riders and sometimes even in with the early group of A riders and just see just how much you can do. And maybe that little motivation, that push from having the stronger riders with you is enough to show you that, yes, indeed, you're ready for that next step in racing. My cat's decided to join me yet again. Now, here's the challenge. That may be true, and that's me providing my own counterpoint to myself. But here's the other thing, is in a lot of these races, and you can see in this very race, you know, the A's have gone off at a blistering pace, which is perfectly fine. And yes, I race both B and A. I'm on the cusp, and if my power's not very high, or maybe I'm in an off season, I'll race a B. If my power's good and I'm in the race season, I'll race A's for sure. But you know, this race starts off pretty hot, and you know, we're doing 4+ watts per kilogram for the majority of this 5-minute segment here. Now, 5 minutes in a Zwift race is hardly telling, but I can tell you, and I'll show you at the end here some results, that this is indicative of the entirety of the race. And you'll see that there's plenty of A's up here, but there's also plenty of B's up here, and there's even C's, and occasionally even a D will pop up in here. So what is a C racer doing holding over 4, sometimes over 5 watts per kilogram for a consistent race? Now here's the thing. Do C racers or B racers cheat? And by cheat, I mean like sandbag significantly? Yeah, absolutely. You'll find them in races all the time where, you know, you're sitting on the limit of what you can do. You're at the maximum of the race threshold, and some C racer will, you know, in your C field will overtake you and just absolutely obliterate you. And you're like, how did this happen? Why? What's going on? Well, they're probably only overtaking you because they could have been holding 4.5 watts per kilogram the entire time, but they were only really holding, you know, like 2.5 throughout the entire race, because in a C race, that's all they're supposed to hold. They're not even tired. They're not even expending effort because they're really an A racer or a very strong B racer, but they're sandbagging in the C's. And then, you know, you're at the maximum of your capacity, and they're, you know, well down in their zone 2. So of course they're going to overtake you at the line, or maybe launch a 1K attack. And it's not going to get them flagged or DQ'd because they haven't spent that requisite amount of time above power that's going to force the disqualification. So I think that's pretty crappy. And I think that this type of race, whether it encourages cheating or whether it just exposes those cheaters or sandbaggers is a different story. Now, there's other ways that people cheat, whether it's intentional or not. And I do believe that there are people that are cheating on Zwift that are not doing it intentionally. Maybe their equipment is misconfigured or whatever. But that's the thing. You can intentionally misconfigure equipment. You can not use your heart rate monitor, so that way you're not showing, hey, I'm doing 4 watts per kilogram, but I'm only averaging 135 beats per minute because this is my zone 2. Anyway, so that's where I'm coming from here. You take a look at this race. We're 5 minutes into this race, give or take, and people are absolutely slaying it, and they're C's. And they're competing quite well against the A's. I think that speaks volumes, and maybe Zwift should consider taking some action around this type of race. Okay, so let's take a look at the results here at the end of this race, and you'll see that we've got quite a few people up here in the B's that were putting out, oh, look at this guy, 203 watts, 4.5 watts per kilogram. Now, either this person is a child, which is possible, or they've misconfigured their stuff. We've got a B racer that averaged 319 watts, no heart rate. Several other B racers that are putting out well above the prescribed power. And there's just absolutely no excuse for this. Again, there's something, maybe Zwift should do something about this and either identify those races that are mass start races. Maybe they should specifically restrict mass start races. It's not hard to put a 30-second gap or a 1-minute gap between the races, or even, frankly, have separate worlds for each of these races. There's no challenge in doing that. Okay, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about mass start races, whether they encourage cheating, expose cheating, or give people opportunities to race in a harder race that they might normally race in. Or if there's something else, maybe I'm not thinking of here. Maybe there's some other consideration. What do you think could be done about that? What do you think should be done about that? Or should anything be done about it? And yeah, let me know. Put some things in the comments down below. Feel free to voice your opinions, even if they're different than mine. I'm happy to hear them. I very much welcome the ability to learn from what you have to share. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. Again, this is a rest day for me, so I'm going to spend very little time on the trainer, about 45 minutes, and doing zone 1, maybe occasionally zone 2, and that's about it. So tune in tomorrow. I'll have another entry into the vlog. Tomorrow is going to be some good base miles, and the weather's actually supposed to be decent in the Pacific Northwest. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We love those. If you don't like this video and you've made it this far, don't give it a thumbs down. I mean, just like delete YouTube from your apps. Other than that, have a great day, and we will see you again soon. Thanks.